Now these absolutely pin up beautiful species of fish are called angelfish. They're from South America, and they're a very peaceful, very beautiful, absolutely graceful species of fish. Now normally an angelfish could not be kept in a tank with large aggressive cichlids, such as, I can't see the big ones right now, but even anyway. So in this tank there are jaguars, and there are there's buttercophori, and there are various species that you wouldn't normally ever put with angels. But because this tank is so big, there's a buttercophori. Because this tank is so big, you can get away with anything, because this is like almost a natural environment for them, because there's so much room for everyone to get out of each other's way. So you get away with a lot in this tank. So you can add all sorts of fish that shouldn't be together. Hey Rex. As far as the water quality in here is concerned, the only things that I'm concerned about, the ammonia is 0. Ammonia is first degree fish waste. Now good bacteria is going to establish in the gravel, in the filters, on the rocks, on the glass, on the plants, and these good bacteria are actually going to break the ammonia into the nitrite, and the nitrite into the nitrate. If we had ammonia or nitrite, which we pretty much don't, then we're going to look at the filters. If the nitrate's high, which this is not, then we've got to look at the water changes. In this case, the pH is quite alkaline, which is good for these fish as a generalization, and the KH is 5. Now all of these tests here are what's called colorimetric tests. So you're comparing them to a color on a color chart, whereas your KH and GH are actually titration tests. So what you're doing with KH and GH is you're counting the drops until the blue turns to yellow for KH, or till the red turns to green for GH. Now, as far as pH and KH is concerned, the fish are always producing acids and always making the pH and KH go down. But because this tank has got lots of coral grit on the bottom, that's going to slowly dissolve and help keep the pH and KH acceptable. And in this case, the KH is 5. So if we wanted to raise it to 8, which is a better level, we can add a KH buffer. But in this case, I wouldn't bother, because I think 5 is totally fine. Now, what I do need to say though is that the GH is 0. And that is because here in Sydney, we have had unbelievable amounts of rain. And with this aquarium, it actually gets rain. So this tank has had a lot of rain recently. So that would have actually diffused down the KH level and GH level. So we're going to have to raise the GH. So what we're actually going to do to raise the GH, so I'm going to tip this in. Now this is not going to be enough to raise the GH from 0, but it'll be a really good start. So what I'm going to recommend is we tip this in, and then in the next few days, preferably within a week, we're going to toddle off down to Majestic Aquariums, and we're going to bring a sample of water, and then we'll test the water and find out what your GH is. And I'm assuming that you're definitely going to need some more GH to add to raise the GH. So your GH salts and so forth, we need to get that up. And that's really, really going to help the body slime of the fish and the general immune system of the fish. So I definitely want to get the GH. Sort of 10 to 12 is ideal, but obviously not 0. So we definitely want it up. That is a beautiful green terror. Now, because we have tap water going into this aquarium, it is important that sort of, let's say every 5 centimeters, we want to add a little bit of water ager. And what the water ager is going to do is take the chlorine and so forth out of the water. So you want to fill it up, say 5-10 centimeters, work out the dose rate. I just sprinkle a little bit in, that's all I do. You definitely don't want to add not enough, but there's very little issues with adding too much. Adding too much of this may raise your GH, which right now we're not worried about. So we just put a bit of a sprinkle of that in. Then when it goes up another 5 or 10 centimeters, add a sprinkle of this in. Then go up another 5, 10 centimeters, add a little sprinkle of this in. And that's just going to make sure that chlorine is not an issue. Now with a big tank like this, just doing a little bit of a refill, if you didn't add this, it doesn't really matter, because a bit of chlorine just diffused into a tank this big is unlikely to be a problem, but it is a very bad habit, because sometimes it actually is a problem. And the other thing about Sydney tap water is that they dose the tap water to a maximum minimum level. So therefore, you can do it one day and it's totally fine, and you can do it another day and it's not such a great idea. So this aquarium's got a whole bunch of decorations in it. Now over time, you are going to get algae growing on the decorations. Now there's several things you can do about that. One is add more of the sucking catfish, like the Plecostomus. This tank has some beautiful Gibiceps and Plecostomus in, which obviously I can't see because when I want to talk about them, they're never going to show up. And so they'll actually go and help to clean the glass, those perspex, and they'll also help to clean the plants. Do be aware that this is perspex, so it does scratch very easily, so be very careful what you clean it with. Now, so catfish are one option. The other option is just turn the lights out for a long period of time, because sometimes they're, so if you go away on holidays or anything like that, then just have the lights out, because less light is going to reduce the amount of algae that grows on things. And then the other thing is that if every now and then you pull all these out and you throw them in the sun for a day, then the sun actually dries all the algae up, and then you flip it over and leave it for a day, and then hit it with a hose, and then often it's good as new. Because sun bleaching any decorations is one of the best ways of revitalizing the decorations. Now, whenever you're in this aquarium, which we send divers in here on a semi-regular basis, what you want to do is just fix up any decorations that may have fallen over. You pick up any bits and pieces that have fallen in the aquarium. This house often has a dog in it that loves to throw stuff in this tank every time that the top's open. So you find everything in here, from sunglasses to dog toys to all sorts of things. So you can pull that out. The other thing we do when we get in here with the diver is we give the filters a clean, which are down there. And then we also have a gravel cleaner. And the gravel cleaner actually allows us to pull all of the crap out of the gravel, because over a long period of time, all the fish waste is going to accumulate in the gravel, and it's pretty damn putrid. So the gravel cleaner allows us to clean the gravel like a vacuum cleaner. So what we're going to do now is fill the aquarium up. So we've got the hose going, and then every 5 to 10 centimeters, we're just going to sprinkle a bit of this in. That's going to help get rid of chlorine and chloramone and so forth. Now, right now, due to all of the flooding and all the rain, there's getting a lot of rain down here. So therefore, your GH has got to 0. So this product here, Majestic Aquariums GH conditioner. So we're going to tip that in. Whoa. So that is not going to be enough for this tank, but we're going to get a water test done, find out what that got the GH to, know that 4.5 kilos has been put in, and that will give us an idea of how much more we need to add in order to get the GH up to at least 6, but ultimately we really want it between 10 and 12. So we're definitely going to need more of this, and considering this is about a 20,000 litre tank and we've added 4.5 kilos, that's going to give us an idea of how much GH to add until we get the level up. And it's really better to add it up slowly as opposed to just bang it up, because that's going to help the stabilize the osmoregulation system within the fish, which is what stabilizes their salt levels internally.